Virginia has been the center of attention for quite some time because of both the incidents or tragedy at Charlottesville and the revelation that your governor wore blackface or a Klan outfit, or he denied. He denied he was either one of the people in the picture. Then he doesn't want to tell us which one he is. Yeah. But either way, not a good optic.
Yeah, I can say I was going around the Commonwealth of Virginia back in 2017 with Ed Gillespie, and one of the things that I got to see was how Northam was actually a racist. I actually called him that on national TV back then because of an issue that he took Justin Fairfax, who's his lieutenant governor, off of some ticket literature because a group in Northern Virginia asked him to. So those are the actions of a racist
We put that
person.
in the monologue, by the way.
And what's interesting is, he also put out that commercial basically trying to paint Ed Gillespie as one of the biggest racists in the world. I can tell you, as an African-American candidate, the very first politician that reached out to me to basically put me under their, or take me under their wing, was Ed Gillespie. And so I never saw that from him, and I don't see it today.
Isn't it amazing how somebody can portray themselves as a woke progressive, right? And especially when you look at the after effect of Northam's scandal. Now he's gone full bore woke. I mean, he's talking about abortion after birth. He is talking about these onerous gun regulations and even in confiscation. What really is kind of shocking and sickening is here this gets unearthed. There's no denying it. He wore blackface or a Klan outfit or whatever. God knows how many other pictures are out there, right? There's probably not just one. But now he's become the perfect tool or the perfect weapon for the left because he'll agree to anything just to hang on to power. And we're even hearing now that he wants to change the state's regulations regarding one-term governors. He wants a second term now.
Oh, my goodness. Well, he's basically got the political sort of Damocles over his head. That's how he feels. And so he's basically trying to placate all these different groups as far left as possible. And I think that's really bad for Virginia. You can see when they talk about gun confiscation, you got members of Congress in the 10th Congressional District, 8th Congressional District, and 4th Congressional District talking about having the National Guard coming to people's houses and taking our firearms.
Turning off the power. That was even a rumor.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, but
So there's a lot of that in there. They're trying to go as far left as possible, and it's ridiculous. That is not what Virginia is. If you just look at the electoral map in Virginia, that's not what Virginia is about at all.
The one thing I've noticed, and I don't like talking about demographics as it relates to conservatism, but we have no choice, right? We're told that conservatives, Republicans are just stodgy, old, white, racist, homophobic, bigoted, men. And yet, of the 30 or 40 candidates that have reached out to me, most of them have been either black, Hispanic, and in some cases of Indian descent. I think the Democrat Party is losing its grip. I mean, how do you stand before black voters in Virginia and say, vote Democrat, if they won't even hold Northam to account for what they say is really the ultimate sin?
So one of the things that I'm proud of is I ran last cycle, and I was one of the few minority candidates then. A lot of candidates have come to me since then, asking me what it's like and asking me for advice about running for office, running as a Republican, how I dealt with a lot of different things. And so I'm very excited to see so many minority candidates out there. As it relates to Northam, it's interesting. They think that the public has tuned this out because the media has basically tuned it out.
Yeah.
But that is not the case because you have local entities that have basically said that they're not going to support candidates that don't support or that get support from Northam, and that's groups like the NAACP and Fairfax. They put out proclamations like that. So there are groups in the local levels that are still pushing back against Northam.
Do you think at all that line the president had in the 2016 cycle where he said, "What have you got to lose?" inspired? I mean, if there's always been black conservatives and black Republicans, but I mean, when we've done programs about this, that 90% of black voters go for Democrats cycle after cycle, but for that, it's been the same result cycle after cycle. And this president, very boldly, whether he rehearsed the line or was an ad lib, said, "What have you got to lose?" And he was talking to people in places like Baltimore and the south side of Chicago and other districts where people have lived in cycles of poverty, but they've only ever known Democrat politicians.
Thanks to this president, I actually decided to run for office. This was one of the things that I came out in 2017 when I announced was the fact that seeing someone who had no political experience at all win the highest office in the land taught me that, hey, I could do it myself. Why can't I do this? So that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for office. As it relates to the African American communities or impoverished communities, the opportunity zones that are in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, those are working. And what's interesting is in my district in particular, in the town of Sterling, I actually was at a local debate, and the supervisor there, who's a Democrat, was actually touting how he fought to get an opportunity zone in that town.
So taking credit for a Trump policy.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're trying, on one hand, they're talking about repealing it, while on the other hand, they're actually using it and they know how good it is. So as a Republican candidate or a conservative, we have to go out and tout the president's accomplishments, and we have to make sure that we vocalize those enough that the population at large understands who actually is responsible for these boons in these different economies.